urban style individual.
What's up with y'all? Hopefully this video finds you in good spirits, and if not, well, at least you not DSP. And this week has been eventful, to say the least. We got a bunch of retconning, lies, obviously, no begging, the removal of the goals, just to name a few. Phil has definitely been on the roll, but all he really has been doing is showing how he doesn't really know how to transition this new influx into a permanent audience. So let's get into it.
In the last few days, since so many newcomers are now coming to my streams and content and watching, I've gotten several complaints from newcomers who are trying to watch on Kick. Okay? And if you want to know what it is, they're saying the Kick chat is too toxic. What's happening is people are going over there and people are saying all kinds of stuff about money and fundraising. And as you know, I don't do it anymore. I don't have goals. I'm not asking for support, begging for support. I'm done. I phased it out. Those people don't like me because they're mad that I don't work with drama creators anymore. So they sit there and they say awful things in the chat. And actual people are saying, Phil, I'm a newcomer. I joined you on Kick and I was turned off by the chat. Those people were being like really, real mean. They were saying,
You see how he's trying to get out in front of this? This is no different than, some of you who grew up with siblings, right? And let's say you and your brother are wrestling around or whatever, and you slam them a little bit too hard. The first thing you're going to do is run to your parents first because you know that's exactly where he's going. And chances are you're going to be speaking a lot faster than he is because you're going to try to get your story out before he can even begin his. And this is what this reminds me of. I don't understand, Phil, why you just didn't take care of this problem if it was an issue. You addressing the trolls does nothing for your new audience, and it does everything for the trolls. Because how do you think trolls are going to respond to this? You think they're just going to leave because you told them to? Like, come on, man.
hey, why aren't you contributing? And they were doing fucked up stuff like that. Not allowed. And if I see it, you're instantly banned and you're never coming back.
And guess what the trolls did the second you did that? They all laughed in unison because you're still taking the bait. The best thing you could have done is acted as if none of us existed, but you routinely introduce your new audience to all this strife and contention when it's completely unnecessary.
That you're done. I'm just making it clear. You don't get to do that in my chat. It's my chat. If I want to do that, if I make the choice to say, I'm actively going to ask for a contribution today, then I'll do that. And it'll be on me, not on you. You don't get to make that choice. Behave, because if you don't, I'm going to get you out of there. Now, as I've said, I understand there's a trolling element in the Kick chat. I get paid for their attendance, but I don't get paid enough for you to scare away new viewers because you're a selfish douchebag.
And have y'all noticed throughout the course of this week, that's all he's been talking about is money. Now, he's also reached far into his bag and brought out the shaming tactics because Phil believes that he can actually shame people into liking him. And in my opinion, that's one of the worst ways of trying to get somebody to like you. All you got to do is be yourself. But unfortunately for Phil, being yourself is probably worse than the shaming tactics.
So because you think you're funny, you're going to try to act like that when you know that there's an active change that's positive going on. No, you're not going to act like that. You're going to be gone. So just making it clear, I'm laying down the law. You will get the hell out of my chat if you're going to act like that. Act like a normal, free, and human.
I would like to know what positive change you're talking about, because we know in your mind you're talking strictly about money. But even when we look at the numbers in terms of how many more subs you've gotten, yeah, sure, you've gotten thousands upon thousands of subs, but none of that is actually translating to your live streams, Phil. So with the influx of the Asmongold Tourist, it actually made things worse. You know why, Phil? Because you have even more dead subs. And the way the YouTube algorithm works is they show your content to your subs first, and based on their level of engagement with that content, that's how they determine how far they're going to push it. So you have more, all you've added is more anchors to your already dead channel because those people are not engaging with your content. It would have been better if they just came, dropped some money off, and kept it moving.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to understand something. People that act like that in my chat are not my fans. These are the people who are LARPers. They pretend to be my fans so that then they can actually turn off real people who are coming in who are interested in the content.
Phil, you don't have any real fans. You have people who don't like you to varying degrees. That's it. And then you have people who want to be in a relationship with you, but you don't have any actual fans. I mean, you need to stop with this notion. Even with this influx of people, like I said before, none of it's translated really into you getting more viewerships on your stream. The numbers are already pretty much baseline or what they were prior to Asmongold boosting you. And that's really what you should be thinking about, how you were not able to parlay any of this, any of it, into a sustainable, permanent audience, man. And this is one of the biggest guys on the planet in your field. I mean, what better layup could you get? I mean, it's just crazy.
They literally sit there. They don't like me. They have no life. So they sit in the chat all day just trying to turn off people who maybe won't be interested in what I'm doing. That's positive and fun and for the better, of my content. They don't want me to succeed.
So, and all you have to do is do what you claim you do, is give them chill, interactive, fun entertainment, Phil. Your actions will far exceed anybody's words. All you have to do is keep doing what you claim you do anyway, but you won't do it. You're going to keep reacting like you always do and eventually squander this opportunity because you've already bored half of them to death. Right. And this is before they start to actually know you and get to your actual antics. I've been watching the numbers and they're dwindling fast.
So, well, Phil's not going to beg. I'm going to beg and I'm going to scream at people who come by and I'm going to say that I want contributions. No, you're not. Absolutely not. That's not happening. See, like this guy says, cute sweater, my lord. My ex-wife has the same one. I wasn't aware your ex-wife was a cross-dresser, but more power to her, I guess. Whatever she wants to do.
So you trying to say that women can't wear sweaters? Like, come on, Phil. And I know this is low hanging fruit, but let's be real about it, man. This sweater looks like something Cat would wear. Is she a cross dresser? Like, come on, man. That's just ridiculous.
I don't know what that is. What is Where Wind Meets? Where Wind Meets? What is that? Never heard of it.
Look how out of touch he is. Where winds meet is probably one of the biggest games to release. I don't know, in the last couple months or whatever. Its Steam numbers are crazy, and by extension, I'm sure the numbers on console are crazy too. It's a Japanese or Chinese MMO. I've been playing it a little bit. I actually enjoy it. The game does a lot of things right, but Phil is in this lane. He is a quote unquote gaming YouTuber, DSP Gaming, and he has no idea about one of the best performing games in recent memory. Just crazy.
Oh, that's very much the case. Sadly, and a lot of these people who are very negative are very internet focused. Okay? Basically, sadly, there are people who have no positives in their life. Or if they do, they don't appreciate them.
What do you mean by internet focused? Phil, this is the type of language that you need to watch what you say because you are egging people on to do other things. You saying, oh, you're just on the internet, like you're just calling people internet gangsters. And all you're going to do is provoke somebody to actually do something to you in real life. So you need to watch what the hell you say. And this is why it's so important that you should have just rolled with the punches. You got a humongous wave that you were riding. And for some reason, it's already super small. Like you could not find a way to do anything positive with it. The money's already drying up. The viewership is already where it was pre-stimulus package. And I would say another week's time, Phil's going to be floundering again and complaining about how he's not making money. And he's going to bring the goals back. And I guarantee you, he blames it on his audience. All my old viewers wanted to come back. It's a legacy thing that they enjoy. It's a silly thing that we do. Y'all know how he likes to try to retcon and try to reform official canon. It's coming.
So instead of focusing on the positive things that they have in life and trying to improve themselves and the things around them for others, they seek to actually destroy good things that are on the internet that they don't have. So instead of me going out and hanging out with my friends and family, finding a significant other to spend meaningful time with, seek employment that would be constructive, that I could pay bills with the money I earn at it, instead they go online and they just sit there messing with people all day.
Why do you always assume people that are online and don't like you are just like your dents? That's crazy. So let me ask you, the people that are supporting you, do they have healthy relationships? Do they have jobs? Do they have people that care about them and hobbies in real life? And that's part of the reason why they're supporting you, Phil. You see how your premise makes no sense? You see how biased your premise is and how it's not really based on anything objective. It's just you superimposing and projecting your dents and your life onto other people with the hopes that is true so you can feel better about yourself. That's what's really going on here.
It adds nothing to society. Literally, it is a complete waste of time, breath, and life, but they have no one to tell them otherwise. I want you to think about that. If there's someone who spends all of their time, they're eternally online, no one checks in on them, no one's aware that this is how they behave. Isn't that a little odd?
This is what I said about your dents. This is how we know that they're isolated. Because if they had people around them that actually cared about them, the second they seen that their family member was watching and contributing to you, it would end. Because your pignosis only works on people who are passing by, like the Asmongold Tourist. And I'm glad that the detractor community coined that term because it's the perfect term to describe what was going on here. And a lot of them showed up, like a lot of these Asmongold Tourists, y'all showed up to a party 15, 20 years late and gonna try to act like you know what's going on at the party, what's going on at the venue. You know less than nothing. But here you are trying to act like you know everything. And this is why my advice to the people in the detractor community is I wouldn't even engage with them. You know why? Because a lot of them are troll tipping Phil because they know it upsets you. And it's just not that deep. They're so hyper focused on a super small piece of the puzzle that they hilariously believe that they understand the entire thing. They can't see the edges, they don't see the end of the puzzle at all. But because this one little small piece, they think they can grasp everything. You don't know anything. So, with that being said, it would be like arguing with a toddler. It would be a waste of time, right? Because you know, at the end of the day, even though the toddler probably means well, they just don't know anything. And it just is what it is.
Isn't that kind of a problem in our culture? That we have people who are actually plugged into these toxic communities of networking online to troll people and mess with people, but no one like intervenes and says, what is going on? This is what you do all day? Because in truth, those of us who live in the real world, who have lives, when we hear about this level of depravity, we're shocked. We're like, I can't imagine that someone would actually, live like that, be like that, waste their time like that.
You see how he's attempting to put himself among what he calls normal people? You see this whole us versus them dichotomy that he's trying to create? Look how he's holding his hands. He really believes that he's on some intellectual spill that's really going to change lives right now, Phil. Nobody takes you seriously, bro. 90% of the people who are listening to this right now are laughing because we know deep down that you really don't understand what you're talking about. But per usual, you're just talking, taking up all the oxygen out of the room to say absolutely nothing, just wasting everybody's time.
But that's because we have things going on for us. They don't. So because they don't, they actually latch onto these online communities of toxic people who have nothing. And that is their existence, is actually to be awful to people on the internet. And it's a messed up, splintered group of people, and they're forming this online hate culture. It's disgusting. Now, the thing is, people profit on it. So because of that, this culture kind of gets pushed to the forefront and sometimes even gets featured and or acted like it's good. It's not. It's very, very bad for human existence. It's very bad for human society to have this weird underculture hiding eternally online in the shadows of the internet. And at any moment, one of them can snap and do something messed up because it's happened before. You've had people do awful things, stalking people, attacking people, swatting people.
So, should we have this global legal system put into place because less than 1% of the population are doing extreme things? No, Phil, that's not how laws work. Okay. Laws are based on what most of us are doing most of the time. Okay. Now, there's going to be addendums and separate provisions in there to account for special cases, but for the most part, things are how they should be. You just don't like it.
You know, as a culture, at one point, we have to finally acknowledge the existence of these online communities, these places that people have this kind of behavior, this basically deviant behavior, and we need to start exposing them for what they are, calling them out, and shutting them down. Because it's the same as any kind of a gang. It's the same mentality. It's just it's online rather than offline.
See how out of touch he is? Did you really did you really compare people making fun of people on the internet to a gang that actually go out there and unalive people, rob people, kidnap people, and a various other criminal activity that they engage in? But you believe that's on par with people saying mean things to you on the internet, Phil. Oh my goodness. The internet, like I've said before countless times, is opt in, opt out. If you don't like something, you can remove it. That's why your block list is so long. This doesn't make sense for you to go on this long tirade about, I guess, some world government supposed to come together and create an agency to silence people that Darksydephil doesn't agree with on the goddamn internet. You sound crazy.
It's a people who are acting together, concerted effort to hurt others, to either get ahead or get their jollies off or whatever the hell it is. But it definitely is a gang. It's an online bullying gang of people who think they get away with it because they're anonymous and they're online. Well, it needs to end. We need to, as a society, say, well, if we're going to be online all the time, if we're going to have online banking, if we're going to have online commerce, if we're going to have online gaming and online cultural discussion communities and social media, and we're going to have streaming, then we need to have someone actually look at what people are doing online, not act like, oh, that's just kiddie stuff. No, it's real, because a lot of people are online all day. And we got to put up with these weird, abhorrent deviants who act in these awful ways. And we should have protections against it, not just
Weird people like Derek, somebody who you've defended into the very end. It wasn't until PPP put your feet to the coals, into the fire, that you finally relented. And I believe to a certain extent that he's still in your chat because y'all have an inordinate relationship. Secondly, you need to read up on what's known as the Constitution, Phil. And in there, there's a little thing called the First Amendment, which pertains to free speech. And why do you think free speech exists, Phil? It's definitely not when people are saying things that everybody agrees with, or popular speech, because then it's not needed. It's needed when people say things that are unpopular or that people don't like. And it's put in place so your government cannot come down and condemn you for you saying something that they don't like. What you're talking about is un-American at its core, and it makes no sense. Now, there are countries that would be far more in line with what you're talking about, and maybe you should move there and stream. But I guarantee you, if you did, that one of the first people that would be taken off the internet would be you.
ignore that it exists. We should actually have a way to focus in on who these people are, find out who they are, why they act that way, and to fix the problem. Because that's the truth. It's a problem. These people need to have a course correction, not just be ignored or act like they don't exist. We need to expose them. It's like lifting up the mat, and under the mat, there's a bunch of freaking bugs, and you shine the light and the bugs scurry away. That's what has to happen.
Well, that's what the detractors have been doing to you for years, but you claim you don't like it. That's what we've been doing. You know, a lot of us do it in our own way, but at the end of the day, that's what's going on. They're exposing you, revealing your lies, trying to assist people and not giving you money, and trying to lay out the reasons why they shouldn't give you money, because everybody knows where it's going. And again, you still have this misconception that people are upset about you making money. Nobody's upset about that. Nobody cares. People are upset for the reasons why you say you need the money, Phil. And that's always been the issue. And that's always one element of the argument that you'll never engage with, because you know you'll be stuck there. We know for the longest time, you said that you were going to basically lose your livelihood, your house, and your way of living if you did not make a certain amount of money, all the while you were playing mobile games. So it's not just, oh, I spend my money on mobile games and I can spend it on whatever I want. Sure, you can. You're a grown man. Then don't turn around and come to the internet crying because you made a series of bad decisions, because at the end of the day, that's what happened.
Well, John says, their punishment is their own existence. In a way, I can understand that. Because, for example, I've told this story before. When I was in my 20s, okay, I was miserable in my own life, and I was an internet troll. Like, I trolled people in the Street Fighter community because I just didn't like what I had going on in my own life.
Now listen to what he's saying. And his trolling was based clearly off of being malicious because he simply didn't like somebody because they were doing better than he was, which is why he projects that idea onto us. But the reason we do what we do, Phil, is because you're a terrible person, objectively. And I mean, I don't think anybody, if you watch him for more than a week, can really dispute that. Now, he's been trying his best to be the employee of the month as of late. And it's ironic because he actually has to act like he has a normal job. He has to put a face on and tell bad jokes and hold back when internally he wants to say things about certain situations. But at the end of the day, we know that all this is going to fade. And he's already had moments where the mask slipped a couple times because, again, he's just overly emotional. And in due time, when the money dries up, and it's starting to, and somebody says something he doesn't like, he's going to go to hell off like he always does.
I was miserable, and therefore I didn't like the fact that other people maybe were doing better than me, and I wanted to make them miserable too. So I would troll them online, on forums, in chat rooms. I would talk shit about them and make stuff up about them and laugh at them. And it was a messed up existence.
So you're saying you came on the internet and you lied solely because you were jealous of somebody else. That's a crazy statement to make, even though it's true. And you think that the detractors have the same sentiment when it's like, who the hell is jealous of Darksydephil? And if you are, you might want to go talk to somebody, bro, because this is not the guy that you should be using as a mirror or as a reflection or something to emulate. Like, mad about what? Like, let's be real about it. This is crazy. But the truth is, Phil, you're entitled and you're also ungrateful. So begging, sure. You being bad at video games, sure. But at the end of the day, people, when they look at you and see somebody who's fundamentally flawed, right? Because you don't have what it takes to see something from somebody else's perspective. You never even tried, which is part of the reason why you're in this cycle and it's never going to end.
So the thing is, I've been there and I know what it's like. But now that I'm older and wiser and more mature, I'm like, man, I wish I never did it. Because once you become the subject of that level of harassment and bullying, then you're like, wow. Now you look at it from a different perspective entirely. Like, dude, how many people did I hurt back then? And luckily I had self-realization, and I actually went back and I actually apologized to some of the people from that community who I actually have been quite nasty to.
I don't believe that at all. But the funny thing about this is it took the internet collectively in lockstep turning their ire towards him for him to even begin to think that maybe I did something wrong. So the entire internet in about 10 years, and then he was like, maybe I did something wrong. Just think about how crazy that is.
Because I really shouldn't have behaved in the way that I did. But the thing is, that was like 20 years ago, and I was like the exception to the rule. Today, we have entire online communities of people who act like this, and they think it's fine. They think this is okay behavior because I found other people who also want to bully people. That's fine. It's not. This could actually splinter human culture.
What the hell is human culture? What does that mean? Culture is not a term that you apply to humans as a whole. Culture is a term that you apply to subsects of humans, a civilization, a certain people group. That's what's known as anthropology, Phil. So there's no such thing as human culture. I'm not sure what he's getting at with this, but you know Phil likes to hear himself speak.
You could actually have this weird subculture of like deviant people who just want to hurt others. That should not be acceptable or allowed at any level. We have to find out who these people are and figure out what's their major malfunction before they go too far.
Okay, Phil. So if that's the case, you just admitted basically to being one of the forerunners of the culture you claim you have a problem with. So what you should do is walk outside and call this world organization that you keep talking about that should do all these crazy things and hold your hands out and allow them to handcuff you on national television. And you set the example for what you claim you would like things to be. Because like I said from the beginning, if you want to go about this the way you're claiming you do with the new trolls and how things are going on, then we have to look back at the people who started it too, right? And shouldn't the leaders be held to a higher account than the people who are following in their stead? I believe so. So let's start with you.
True. Dakota Nader says, it's hard to be happy if you just don't have anything going on in your life, which can be tough. I get that. I get that. That's why I ask. So where are the family members? Where are the friends? Where are the people who should be caring about those people? These people who sit eternally online, bullying people, laughing at the misfortune of others. Why is no one aware they're doing that and saying, what is wrong with you? Dude, wise up, shape up, stop just sitting around in a bedroom trolling people on the internet. Like, what kind of an existence is that?
Sure. I'm sure there's an element of people who have their own misery and or burdens that they're dealing with, and a part of watching you is them alleviating that burden, even if it's for a time. But I would argue that that's probably on the smaller end of the greater whole of the group, right? Most people got a million things going on. We got kids, we got businesses we're trying to run, we got a bunch of stuff going on, and we watch you in passing because it's funny, Phil. Because people are drawn to drama. Look at every single TV show that's on television right now. Power Rangers, even. You can look at Dragon Ball. It always has some level of drama, and people tune into these shows on a weekly basis, even professional wrestling to a certain degree, right? Because of the drama. And on those shows, you have characters that you like, and you have characters that you don't like. And the characters that you like, you want to see good things happen to them. And the characters that you don't like, you want to see bad things happen to them. Whatever bad or good is contextually in that world. That's all it is, Phil. It's really not that deep. And the fact that you're trying to act as if every single person that's in this realm is acting like what less than 1% of the population is acting like just shows how out of touch you are. But it also shows how special you think you are. That special provision should be put in place, and the UN should effectively staff an agency specifically for cleaning up the internet according to what Phil's believes how it should be cleaned up, but completely absolving himself. It's crazy.
I don't understand why no one intervenes. I'm actually shocked that there's this many people who are ignored. But then again, take a look at all the mass violence and the problems we've had in the United States in the last few years. A random school shooting occurs, which is a horrendous action. And then the family says, we didn't know that this person was crazy. How? They had a bedroom full of homemade guns and bombs. They were writing all over social media that they wanted to murder people. How did you not know? Do you just ignore that person always, never even talk to them and act like they don't exist? You think maybe that's a fucking problem? Because I have a hard time believing that when these people act out like this, right? They're bullying people online. They have these weird, abhorrent thoughts. No one's aware. Do they all just live in this weird underground bunker we're not aware of, completely hidden from modern society? We don't know that they exist until they act out. I'm a little lost on that.
You see how he dwells in extremes, how he has to create this extreme example in order to make a point. And even though he's not quite saying that, we know that he's getting at this is the behavior likely of his detractors, right? When you look at the American population, how many people who live here, and you take that number and you cross-reference it with some of these school shootings he's talking about, you'll see just how small of the population is actually engaged with the type of behavior that he's talking about. It's very, very small. And there's already laws on the books to take care of a lot of the stuff. So again, I'm not sure what he's talking about, aside from he feeling like he's special and things should be curated specifically for him because he knows better than everybody, right? And it's always funny to me when he's like to create all this distance between who he is now and who he claims he used to be, as if he was a damn teenager. No, Phil, you were in your late 20s. In your late 20s. When I was in my late 20s, I was on my second enlistment. I was a sergeant already. All right. For a lot of people, they're in college or they're graduating college and they're going on to work at some institution, right? Or they've been in their field for almost 10 years at that point, and they're a supervisor or a foreman or whatever the case is, and you are on the internet trolling. So you're the last person who should be coming on a public platform and trying to tell people what they should or should not be doing. Just stop.
Like, I think that maybe there are signs, but a lot of humans are like, we can't be bothered with them because we only care about ourselves. Well, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to finally start caring about this because it's obvious this culture exists and it's getting worse.
I just thought this whole segment was funny, you know, and you can tell that Phil is really teetering the line, walking the tightrope, so to speak, because he has this influx, but he has no idea what to do with it. And because he doesn't have a plan and he never cares about what's going to happen in the future, he feels like, you know what, I'm just going to try to make myself the biggest victim I possibly can with the hopes that I can shame these people into liking me. You should like me because look how hard my life has been. That has nothing to do with the content. It has nothing to do with you actually trying to entertain them. It's you trying to psychologically pull them in. And this is why you'll never appeal to a wider audience. You will ever only appeal to these weirdo whales who think they're helping you, and by extension, sticking it to the detractors because they gave you money. But what they really did was give Scopely money. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Urban style content. I'm dead.